Azure Land was the world's favorite game, but then it just went offline out of nowhere. Not long after, monsters from the game started popping up in real life, and the line between what's real and what's not got super blurry. Shizuya Kakitsubata, the game's top commander, found himself stuck in this crazy mess where everything he knew was flipped upside down. The skills he used to have fun are now his only shot at survival, while humanity, which used to dominate the battlefield, is struggling to hang on in a world that feels unsafe. The story kicks off in Azure Land, where hidden dungeons lie at the edge of a lava flow from the altar of the end. Just when the system is about to hit 99% completion, a massive explosion goes off and sends a girl flying. All banged up, she misses the hero of this game, but then she spots a huge demon beast nearby and knows she's in trouble. This monster, the hidden boss, warns her that her time is running out. In a fit of rage, the boss starts throwing fireballs at her. Just when she thinks it's game over, someone throws up a shield just in time. She turns and sees it's the nanny, the healer Sato Meiji. He tells her to hold off the monsters until the hero shows up and boosts her strength to keep the boss from moving too much. The girl, a warrior named Heian Hitomi, gets ready to charge at the boss, but just as she's about to strike, the boss laughs and says it's all pointless. He pulls away fast, and suddenly a massive wing blocks the hit. It might sting a bit, but the boss slams Hitomi again and sends her flying. This time, though, she's got a plan. She calls in a guy who managed to sneak up behind the demon boss. No clue what he does, but it lands for a crazy 8 million damage. That guy is Nishi Roan, an experienced player in the game. Unfortunately, things don't go as planned. The boss goes berserk and shoots sharp projectiles everywhere. He challenges Roan to match his speed, and Roan quickly realizes he made a huge mistake. The next thing he knows, the projectiles come slicing toward him, and just as luck, he gets hit with the boss's paralysis effect. Meiji's shield gets crushed, and a mana-induced blade intercepts just before Roan is cut in half. The team finally feels a bit of relief as the star of the game shows up. The protagonist is so overpowered he casually slices off the boss's arm while grabbing another demon's head. He tells the boss his brother showed up late and says he feels bad for being late himself. The main character of the game is Kamehara Shizuya, the commander. The boss makes another move, but Shizuya counters with his fire sword and the battle begins. The whole team jumps in and things heat up with non-stop hits. Meiji warns him to avoid the boss's flames since they paralyze instantly. As the team starts to wear down, Shizuya yells to finish it. He jumps up, catches a 3-second window to strike, and unleashes his speed attack. His mana forms a roaring lion that slams into the boss. A huge explosion follows, and the boss only lets go when his mana core is torn away. He drops to his knees, and in the next moment, Shizuya severs his head. A system notification pops up, announcing a record time for defeating the boss monster. The guild is still in shock. Shizuya cracks a joke, wondering if that was even the final boss. Roan, barely holding on, tells him to stop joking and appreciate their effort. Meiji, meanwhile, can't stop thinking about how insane Shizuya's combat skills are and how sharp his decisions turn out to be. As he looks at the blizzard monster's corpse, it hits him how strong Shizuya really is. What looked like an easy win was actually a smart strategy from fast expert thinking. Meiji has to admit Shizuya is the real king of Azure Land. Then Shizuya checks his achievements portal and feels pretty good seeing he's unlocked everything in the game. Out of nowhere, a unique achievement pops up called Omniscience and Omnipotence, something he's never even heard of before. Just then, a special notification drops saying the game's service is shutting down in just 5 seconds. Everyone's stunned by the news, and it's all on the system for not giving any warning. Then we snap back to reality. The guy wonders when he'll get to hang out with his guild mates again. 5 days later, he's still thinking about how a popular game could just disappear without warning or sequel. He still feels connected to his character and regrets missing the final effect of that unique achievement. While checking the guild chat, he texts that he's at Hamamizu Station and thanks them for helping him hit the last achievement before the shutdown. Suddenly, a message pops up with a link that declares war. When he clicks on it, a furious blonde girl appears in a video and claims she found a clue about why Azure Land's service shut down. She thinks it might be linked to their guild, Mapo Tofu. Even though they rank second in achievements, their completion rate is only 33.9%, while the top guilds is 101%. Shouldn't their leader, Shizu, have something to say? His friend asks the same question. Did the game really shut down just because Shizu hit that 101st achievement? He can't help but wonder too. But before he can wrap his head around it, the train shakes violently. A weird blue portal appears right in front of the train and pulls everyone in. Blue mana surges through his veins and lights up his skin. The train derails and chaos erupts. After the crash, things turn terrifying. Some passengers get hit with brutal attacks. Blood splatters and droplets land on him. As he looks up in shock, he sees monstrous characters from the game have entered the real world. The monster isn't alone. It brings a whole crew of different characters along. People start screaming when they see the monsters and chaos breaks out. One guy just stands there, frozen in fear, unable to move. Without hesitation, the monster swings its sword and slices the man clean in half. A terrified girl who witnesses it screams for help, but in the very next moment, she's brutally killed too. After killing several people, the monster turns its attention toward our boy. Feeling confused, he wonders what's going on, but the monsters don't give him a break. They lunge at him without a second thought. As they charge, a strange sense of déjà vu hits him. He quickly dodges to the side, snatches a rock, and barely avoids the attack. In that moment, the way the monster moves feels super familiar. He's seen it before. The monster leaps again, this time higher and swinging harder. As he watches, he realizes he knows what's coming next. He edges forward and takes off running, zipping beneath it while it's still in the air. Once the monster lands, our guy is already out of its reach. It turns to face him, but he's ready for that too. Then the creature turns its fury on others, slaughtering more humans. As chaos erupts around him, our hero recognizes the move he's seen a million times before. This isn't just any old monster. It's a commander, though he doesn't know its name. He remembers its signature move, Leon Slash. As he slips through a gap in the wrecked train, it hits him that this could be a shortcut to the Worm Dungeon. Suddenly, the monster shows up and locks onto him. Knowing he's outmatched and has no chance in a direct fight, he bolts. But he's got a plan, so he's taking a risk. In the heat of the moment, he forgets this is the real deal. He jumps across the edge of a massive pit, not even considering that one misstep could mean the end. It feels just like playing the game again, even if it's now for real. The monster lunges again, trying to take him down. But our hero pivots mid-run and shouts, "Sorry, but it's game over." The monster doesn't realize it has landed right at the mouth of the worm. The worm tears open and devours it completely. Our boy is on a roll after scoring a win. His level shoots up to 8, and he feels a wave of relief wash over him as his gamble pays off. He thinks back to when terrain skills used to trip him up in the game, but now they're perfect for hunting down tougher enemies. He quickly grabs his phone to check in on his friends. The chat is buzzing that they're all good. That's when he realized that only Rinkai City has been taken over by the game. Out of nowhere, he spots trouble. A shadow hunter comes at him, backed by 2 level 30 shadow monsters. Without thinking twice, he takes off to save himself. Then he notices an item on the ground. He kicks off an analysis and the system fills him in on the weapon's details. He can't help but wonder if it belongs to the commander he just took down. It's a mana-infused sword with crazy attack power and some sweet hidden stats. Out of the blue, the shattered pieces of the sword start coming back together. He can't believe he stumbles upon such a treasure this early in the game. The system prompts him to fuse with it. Since the original owner can track it down within a week, it asks for his okay. He's all in. He agrees completely, but makes it clear he can't stand stalkers. He starts wondering if this tracking skill is something players use to get their stolen stuff back. Could monsters have the same ability though? Just then, a shadow monster swoops in with a crazy attack, but he's focused on the system. As he confirms the fusion, the broken sword bits wrap around his arms. He unlocks a bunch of unique traits, omniscience and omnipotence. With these new powers, he wonders if he just unlocked all those commander-level skills or if he's really about to experience true omnipotence. He kicks off a skill called Brave Blast, which seriously boosts his speed. First, he needs to make a getaway. Then he pulls off Leon's Slash, a gnarly attack that also lets him triple jump. Our guy jumps toward the stairs and vanishes from sight, leaving the hunters in the dust. They have no clue he's hiding out. Unsure if he's truly lost them, he keeps quiet. When no one comes after him, he finally feels a wave of relief. This new ability really comes in handy. He notices that his stats and skills feel way stronger in the real world compared to the game. But there's one big issue is of hate stock. For now, his best bet is to get out of the cave before more monsters show up. When he hits the train station, he can't believe his eyes. A huge crowd of monsters is already gathered. And there's this weird creature standing guard over what looks like a respawn point. That's odd. Respawn points are supposed to be for players only. Then wonders, what if that monster is an infinite respawn player? Now humans are the ones being hunted. In this new version of Azure Land, it makes a twisted sort of sense. If he's right, they'll be running from monsters that can respawn endlessly for the next week. And the monster he defeated earlier will return for him, trying to kill him and take back its weapon. No player would ever let a monster just stroll off with their weapon, right? He can't just sit there waiting to be taken out. He knows the ins and outs of the game better than anyone. Out of nowhere, the monster perks up, but he's already on the move. Even with just 1 life left, he's set on surviving. He figures the underground tunnel will lead to the Worm Station, but it feels more like a maze the one he's pretty familiar with. This spot is a C-rank dungeon called Far's Heart. He recalls the dungeon intro and the creepy worms inside. It doesn't quite match Far's Heart. Then he remembers a secret few players knew that let them skip the boss. It gives him hope. If it works here, he can level up without being hunted. But unlike the game, that shortcut doesn't seem to exist in real life. He's left with no choice but to take down the boss. Trying to do that solo is practically mission impossible. While he's figuring it all out, he suddenly feels a rush of danger. That same deadly monster is right behind him. Without wasting any time, he bolts straight into the dungeon. As our hero makes his way into the dungeon, he quickly hops over some worms to put distance between them and dashes into the cave. Inside, he's on a mission but gets super frustrated, drenched in sweat. All the worms are awake now, chasing him down like they're out to get him. Just when things start looking grim, he finally spots what he's after. Without wasting a second, he unleashes his Leon Slash, taking down a bunch of worms that are about to reach him. He slips into an opening and finally comes face to face with the tears of Farav. A drop lands on his hand, giving his stats a small boost. Suddenly, a notification pops up. The trial of Farav kicks off. If he gets interrupted, a curse will hit him. It dawns on him that this is just like the game. A drop falls every 5 seconds, and after 100 seconds, he earns a stat point. If he sticks it out for 3 days, that adds up to 50 points. As he stands in the water, watching his stats creep up, his mind wanders back to the people he's lost. Sweat pours down and something feels off. The image of a girl flashes in his mind, throwing him off even more. He can really feel the difference between this being real and just a game. Then he hears a voice calling out, someone crying for friends. It brings back memories of his guild, but in his head, their faces twist into wild, nightmarish zombies. The dread hits him hard. He yells, trying to break out of the nightmare. The mental attacks just keep getting worse. In a fit of frustration, he slams the ground. He needs to stay together. 2 days are already gone and just 1 more to go. He has to hang in there. He tries to focus to stay calm, but out of nowhere, something sharp jabs into his chest. He barely has time to turn around. The same monster stabs through him and shoves him backward. He starts thinking this might be it. How does anyone compete with a player who can just come back to life again and again? Lying in a pool of blood, he thinks it might have all been wishful thinking. Maybe he should just give up. As he shuts his eyes, one last thought pops into his head. If you give up, the pain ends. But something inside him, deep in the stairs, pushes back against that idea. It reminds him that he's the strongest player around, no matter his level. There's no way he's letting these monsters beat him. The only twist is that he can't respawn anymore, so he has nothing to fall back on. He makes the call. He's going to fight. With a shout of defiance, he vows he won't lose, and just like that, he snaps back to reality. A system notification pops up saying that Farah has recognized him. He's now one of them. Then, out of nowhere, a snake coils above his head, hissing. He feels alive and strong, like a whole new person. But then confusion kicks in. Is this all a trick? Maybe it's the dizziness from 3 days without food or water. He figures it's time to head outside. As he jumps through the portal, those same nasty leeches are waiting for him. But now, after passing the trial, he's pretty sure they won't attack. That is, until he spots a pair of giant red eyes glowing in the dark. He looks up completely shocked. It's a huge dungeon boss. Right there, it pops out a slimy egg, and the system labels it as worm essence. The worm monster lets out a roar. He looks at the essence and figures eating it might heal him. Maybe he's finally one of the crew. At the station, he sees all the top players are gone and only low-level ones are left. Now at level 25, he feels ready. He uses Leon's Slash and wipes out the monsters. Then he follows up with Stun Rush, Chase Arrow, and Brave Flag, which gives him a speed boost. He hits a fire extinguisher to fill the area with smoke and catch his breath. He thinks it'll help him hide, but he doesn't realize the enemies can still see through it. A monster suddenly appears from behind a pillar and catches him off guard. Its sword cuts across his arm and blood splashes out. Gritting his teeth, he strikes back with heavy hits while cursing himself for letting his guard down. Then he notices the portal stone in the monster's hand. That explains how they're tracking him and showing up everywhere. Just when things get bad, his leech monsters show up and start chewing through the enemies. The others clear out the station in no time. He breathes a quiet sigh of relief. Without them, he'd be finished. He uses some leftover monster essence to heal his shoulder. Then he sees the portal stone again and shouts at the leeches to eat it and move fast. With the worm's huge body, they can outrun the players and crush them too. The plan works perfectly. The charging worms smash the enemies around like they're nothing. He checks the system and is surprised to see he's gained experience from the players the worm defeated. He levels up by 9, but the problem is the worm has destroyed the equipment and made it useless. He knows it's time to fall back before the monsters start reviving. The thought of facing them again and again makes him angry. He has to find a way to stop it no matter what. Outside the city, things are just as chaotic as what our guy already deals with. Drones blare warnings all over the streets, telling people to get to the nearest shelters. The military rescue is set to show up in 2 days. Meanwhile, monsters cause a scene, and looters take advantage of the chaos to grab whatever they can. In the middle of all this mess, a girl strolls through the streets with music blasting in her ears. She carries a few items and figures she'll pay for them at the counter. But when she looks up, there's nobody there. She doesn't even bother to turn around. Still glued to her phone, she gets annoyed with the no-signal situation. She keeps walking, trying to catch a bar, frustrated that she can only jam out to the song she already saved. It's wild that she just walks down the road while everything around her falls apart. Suddenly, someone grabs her arm, yanks off her earphones, and she stumbles as a guy shoves her against the wall. A passerby shouts that she almost walks into one of those things. Feeling embarrassed, she admits she's too into her phone. Then they spot a shadowy monster lurking nearby, and of course, it notices them. Both of them take off running, but the monster is fast on their tail. Just as the cloaked dude ahead turns to look back, the creature gets ready to attack. That's when she realizes the guy in the cloak is actually protecting them. It's our boy. He transforms his arm into a weapon and slashes through the monster's limb, but the beast retaliates even while falling. The boy realizes he's up against a skilled assassin, and that the maze-like area definitely works to its advantage. He swings at its leg, trying to push the action into more open space. The monster dodges again while the girl just stands there filming everything with her phone, completely captivated by the hero. He runs over and grabs her arm, urging her to move since they're running out of time. She hesitates and seems annoyed about leaving her stuff, then jokes that the monsters aren't even attacking. He stops and looks confused, but she bursts out laughing and says she's just kidding. Then she notices something strange about his hand glowing with blue mana. He brushes it off and says a lot has happened. He remembers the moment he picks up one of the creature's weapons and how it fuses with his body, giving him some of their power. He tells himself they need to wrap this fight up quickly. The signal is back. At the edge of the city, the girl asks if it's his first time there because he seems to know more than she does, even though she used to hang out a lot. He says he has a map and that the layout reminds him of a beginner zone from a game called Hound Village in Azure Land. He wonders if this place is based on the Rinkai region from the game. She asks why he's in such an empty area, and he says he just wants to check something out. Then he asks why she's still following him. She tells him to stop being vague and introduces herself as Kokone Chijo, asking him to call her Kokone. She says she's following him because he seems cool, but he figures she's a bit crazy. While they chat, he steps into an area filled with synergy and realizes they've walked into a hidden cave. She looks around, surprised at how much it has changed since it used to be an old air raid shelter where they played. He tells her to stay quiet. A soft glow comes from deeper inside. As they move closer, they see a boy and a girl arguing. He wants to go alone and pushes her to hurry. She insists it isn't possible. At the same time, they're fighting a shadow magician and some soldiers. Watching from a distance, the boy sees their levels are lower than the ones at the station. Confident, he decides he can take them. Without warning, he charges in and unleashes a powerful electrified attack. The girl behind him shouts in shock, asking what Shizu is doing. The fighting dude notices and briefly wonders if Shizu is a monster too, but the soldier girl quickly says he's human. Our boy pulls off some clever moves this time. He targets the healer demon first, then goes after the tank. He charges in without any healing, but he's moving too slowly. While trying to catch up, he ends up chasing after our hero. The fighting dude starts firing at the monsters to cover our boy. But suddenly, the monster tank stops and turns around, throwing up a huge wall of ice for protection. Thick smoke fills the area, making it harder for the duo to see where the enemies go. Our hero tells them the monsters have retreated for now and they shouldn't waste their energy worrying about it. Just then, one of the soldiers aims his gun at our boy, asking why he looks like a monster. Our boy stays calm and points out that he just fought on their side and isn't the enemy, so why is the gun still trained on him? Kokone runs in to back him up, insisting he's human. One of the soldiers remembers seeing her save him back in town. The duo glances at each other and suggests everyone should head inside to chat. They move deeper into the cave, spotting several injured people sitting quietly. They look totally worn out and defeated. Kokone recognizes the duo as instructors from the Army Reserve Academy and mentions she trained there too. One soldier explains they are sent on a mission but lost all communication. After being chased by monsters, they end up here. Looking at the survivors, Kokone says these are the only ones they managed to save. The rest don't make it. Our boy takes it all in and remarks that this chaos is beyond understanding, adding that managing to protect even this many people is a miracle. The Arn girl says the monsters probably won't let them leave. Our boy agrees with her. He starts remembering a harsh story, but if he's right, this hidden cave is a dungeon every beginner has to clear. He realizes the two instructors are the dungeon bosses, the twin demons. He recalls that the male twin uses powerful magic and wide attacks but moves slowly, whereas the female twin is quick and precise but not super strong. Out of nowhere, a sharp pain hits his head. The Arn girl asks if he's okay. He says he's fine but feels things are starting to make sense. This isn't just a game gone real. Everything is connected now. The human world has turned into a monster-infested place. Those showing up as players in the name of justice might end up destroying humanity. He can't help but wonder who could have created such a messed up game. Someone steps on their defensive barrier, signaling the group that more monsters are on the way. Our hero senses these ones are way tougher than the last batch. Kokomon zooms ahead to get better look. The instructor yells for everyone to back off and stay hidden. Kokomon sneaks closer and spots 5 monsters this time. He urges her to concentrate on helping the civilians evacuate. She hesitates for a moment but eventually nods and goes along with it. He sizes up the enemies. There are shadow warriors, an archer, and even a magician. They're clearly ready for a fight, even in the dark. One monster uses a lamp arrow specifically for low-light battles. He tells his team to cover him while he takes on the guys in black. Without wasting any time, he charges in. Out of nowhere, the enemy starts shooting fireballs. Our hero darts around, dodging like it's second nature. He checks out the tank's defensive posture and lands a solid hit. Meanwhile, his team fires from another angle, forcing the tank to turn and block their shots. Taking advantage of the moment, our hero sprints forward and slams into the tank again. He notices these enemies are mostly newbies, only using basic moves. Seeing his chance to finish things, he charges in with determination. But just then, a Shadow Arc monster starts shooting. Its mana charge shots curve mid-air. He's caught off guard. Before he knows it, the tank he just knocks down gets back up and fires another fireball. There's a massive explosion. His team shouts out, asking if he's okay. He steps out of the smoke, saying he's fine. As he regroups, he sees the enemy players power spiking. A bright flash hits as the magician launches another spell. He quickly realizes that all the damage is getting healed up. He glances at the healer in the back, guarded by the archer. Deciding to take action, he targets the healer and charges forward. But the archer is on point, firing shots that keep him at bay. He knows he can't break through alone. If they want to win, he has to count on his team. Just then, the tank barrels in from the side. He lands a solid hit, but gets tossed back just as hard. The instructor tells him to pull back. Rising slowly, blood dripping from his forehead, he thinks that in the game he wouldn't hesitate to sacrifice someone to change the game. But now looking at his team, he wonders if he can actually do that. Meanwhile, a girl sits quietly in the shelter, looking totally defeated. Another girl hands her a joystick, joking that if she keeps frowning, she'll end up with wrinkles. The girl thanks her but still panics, asking where her parents are. A kid next to her starts crying, saying their parents died after bringing them to the instructors. Out on the battlefield, a soldier sneaks up to hit the tank. The female instructor tells everyone that they're retreating and plans to clear a path with bombs. It's their last shot at survival, but our guy isn't done yet. He jumps back into the fight, activating a brave flag that amps up his speed and power. As he charges forward, an arrow comes at him. A shield appears, deflecting the arrow. It curves in midair and strikes the instructor. The arrow hits Takudo Onichin in the heart. The little girl turns to Kokon and asks if Takudo is going to die. She mentions that he shares something with her he never tells their instructor, Akina. Suddenly, Takudo collapses, looking lifeless. He realizes the weight of his decisions as he could have taken out the enemy, but someone else ends up paying the price. He stares at the monsters. In this game, there's a system called Change that connects 2 players. The instructor needs to ride this kudu to escape and stay alive. He knows the chosen player is gone and sulking isn't going to help. They have to keep moving. Akina's hands shake. She grabs a gun and a bag, her voice trembling with anger. She curses the monsters and tosses the bag into the air. It's packed with explosives and is about to blow. The hero knows exactly what's coming next. The explosion is going to send the monsters into chaos. The girl's eyes fill with rage. The team takes aim and fires at the bag, setting off a series of explosions across the battlefield. Once everything quiets down and smoke fills the air, the girl falls to her knees, totally drained, with tears streaming down her face. She cries that she could have been promoted faster and how he never listened when she wanted him to be her partner. Instead of escaping with her, he chooses to save the citizens. She angrily yells, questioning what kind of fool does something like that. Then she hears someone coughing. Her eyes widen in shock. It's Takudo. He slowly lifts himself up and mumbles, what just happened. He figures out that thanks to the break flag skill, which boosts his HP and defense, that fatal hit isn't enough to take him out. He actually makes it. Takuto stands up and asks if all the monsters are gone. Our boy glances at his wound, baffled about how he survives such a heavy blow. Then Akina suddenly punches him right in the gut and curses him. At that moment, a ring tumbles out of Takuto's pocket. He picks it up, looking surprised, and admits he intends to give it to her once they get out safely. Out of nowhere, Akina hugs him tightly. In sync, they both say it's what they've been waiting for all along. Watching this sweet moment unfold, our boy can't help but smile, feeling happy for them. Just then, Kokon pops up and asks if everything's safe now. No one guesses there's a love story brewing between the twin diamonds in the game. Even while battling a beginner-level boss, they figure out how to cheat death with the system. It doesn't feel like a lost cause anymore, there's still a shot at victory. But then, our boy remembers what's coming in just 30 minutes. All hope fades again as a massive monster appears and crushes both soldiers instantly. Shortly after, the four of them reunite with the men in the cave. After suggesting they leave the cave, one of the men angrily refuses to accept it. He reminds them that the reason they evacuated here with them is because it's safer. To him, going outside to meet the monsters is suicide. The other men support the first guy, and they all refuse to step a foot outside. Although surprised by their rebellion, Akina calmly explains that the enemy already knows this location. She adds that they barely survived and more enemies will come. To chime in, our boy adds that his prediction is that the guys they just defeated will revive and attack again. But this time, they'll come back stronger. Surprised that these monsters can revive infinitely, the front man retorts that they just die since there's no point fighting back. Apart from that, he questions why they should trust our guy's predictions, especially since Shizu's body is the same as that of the monsters. The man speculates that Shizu might just be trying to make them afraid and lure them outside so he can kill them all. Annoyed, Kokon asks the man how he can say such things to the person who saved his life. She blankly tells the man to go ahead and die here like a stray dog if that's what he wants. Eventually, Takuto calms the tension. He suggests that those who want to go outside can follow them and those who don't want to can stay back to serve as backup. Akina also reminds them that she received instructions before the signal got cut not to stay there, but to evacuate to a safe place at the airport. Since it's left in their hands, the people start to consider their options. Suddenly, the little girl that was with Kokon grabs Akina's sleeves and states that she'll follow big sister Akina and big brother Takuto. This comes as a surprise to the rest, but the loudmouth man just sneers at her out of disgust. Eventually, some of the other guys decide to follow them since they figure it'll be safe at the airport. When the loud guy realizes that everyone is ditching him, he's forced to drop his pride and agree to follow them. When he concedes, Kokon crosses her arms and huffs at him. Immediately, Akina tells everyone to pack their bags because they're leaving in 5 minutes. They soon hit the road. While they're walking, Kokon asks Shizu how he knows that the monsters will revive and attack again. Since this is the first disaster of its kind, she wonders why he's so knowledgeable. He mutters a random reply but keeps his reasons to himself. He knows that in such games, the players will steadily level up in various ways, and secondly, they can infinitely revive. Because of this second strength, they have no chance of winning against them if they stay in the dungeon. Takuto chimes in and asks him why he's so calm, but our boy points out that they're also calm. However, Takuto reminds him he's a trained soldier. He shows him his shaking hands and explains that they're reaching their limits since they weren't trained to fight monsters. Intrigued, our boy asks him why they're pushing themselves so hard since they know they can't protect everyone, especially since they're more likely to survive if they move alone. Surprised, Takuto admits that he's right. They soon run into a spot where a monstrous emblem is placed, and Takuto wonders why this strange thing has appeared where a national emblem and flag used to be. To answer our boy's question, Takuto tells Shizu that he doesn't have to be like him. He tells him he can take Kokon and run away if it comes down to it, and the statement surprises Shizu. Suddenly, Kokon asks what will happen to the little girl, Kotona. Takuto explains that Kotona has no family now and it seems Akina won't leave her side. He tells them a secret about how Akina became unable to bear children due to a wound she sustained as a child. He knows she's always thinking about it even though she never says it. He also suspects that's why she never said yes when he confessed his love to her. Suddenly, our guy notices something strange from behind and pushes the others out of the way. The arrow that was shot grazes his cheeks and barely misses his head. The others look at him in horror, so our boy asks if everyone is okay. What he sees next makes his eyes widen. He notices that the arrow has pierced Kotona's chest. In a few seconds, a little girl falls to the ground and calls out to Akina as her blood gushes out. Horrified, Akina screams out her name and goes into another gun frenzy with tears in her eyes. Takuna runs after her to stop her from heading into danger, and the rest follow after. Our guy realizes the archer is too skilled to have missed them, and it's clear he intentionally hit, so he wonders why. As Akina fires rapidly at the archer, our boy realizes why the archer attacked them. Akina manages to gun down the archer, and Takudo tries to calm her down. As she warns him to let her go, Shizu immediately realizes they're trying to lure them and warns them all to come back immediately. Immediately, a huge monster steps on Akina and Takudo, crushing them instantly. Shocked, our boy wonders why he didn't remember sooner. Standing in front of them is a level 40 sea golem, an allied unit for the player faction in Azure Land. They're designed to guard dungeon entrances and were non-playable characters that prevent the enemy forces from blocking the gate. Some players lure enemies to entrances to exploit the golem's abilities and use its detection ability to hunt bosses. While they remain there speechless, the archer appears by the golem's foot and begins to absorb the life force from the corpse. The archer is soon given a dungeon reward called Conqueror of the Hidden Cave. It annoys Shizu that they're just nameless monsters to these creatures, and all of their pain is just a game to them. In that case, he decides to activate his omniscience and omnipotence and acquiring equipment skill. However, he activates this at the cost of 4 players pursuing him for 7 days. Our hero immediately begins to receive several skills and equipment that the system can detect around him. He leaps towards the archer, who tries to attack him with a fireball. Our boy effortlessly dodges it and appears behind the archer. Seconds later, the archer splits in half in the place where Shizu had cut him. As the monster fades away, Shizu asks him if he can understand the feelings of those left behind. He soon begins to receive the skill and equipment of the archer, as well as those of the Akina and Takudo, who the system recognizes as the twin demon. Soon after, the folks behind him run away when they see the golem appear. Meanwhile, our boy looks at the ring that Takudo gave Akina, and he promises himself to continue their mission. As the golem bears down a punch on him, he walks towards it without flinching. Since the golem has a unique ability to reduce damage from many of its opponents, and it has rank 3 strength, our boy knows he shouldn't fight it head-on. However, he hopes to be able to buy a little time. He jumps out of the way as the golem's fist smashes into the ground. He uses his newly acquired rapid mana skill that he got from Takudo, and he tells himself that he can defeat this monster. Our boy fires shots at the monster's head and gets out of the way. However, the smoke clears and the golem is unaffected. It uses its X-Rush skill to fire a laser beam at Shizu, who is forced to run away. As the golem frantically targets him, our boy quickly activates his defensive stance skill and creates a shield out of his hand. Despite the shield, the beam results in an explosion that launches him several feet backwards and knocks him down. Scared, Kokon calls out to him. Our boy's plan is to let the others get away as far as possible while the monster is focused on him, but it seems evacuation has taken longer than he thought. As the monster clasps its hand to finish him off, our boy helplessly realizes healing would take time. His whole body hurts and he doesn't have the strength left to dodge. While he wonders if this is the end for him, the loudmouth man pushes Kokon out of the way while he's trying to escape. She trips over and falls, and somehow this causes the golem to stop. This confuses Shizu, who notices the golem quickly look over towards her. He knows that golems are set up to protect players, which must mean that there's a player who's receiving damage within its detection range. From the golem's POV, Kokon is the player and the loudmouth fellow is the enemy. Before it can respond, our boy quickly activates his Blessing of Light skill because the golem attacks those evacuating. He quickly leaps on the golem's hand and goes up its body while it's distracted. Even though golems are tough, he knows they have a weakness. Although it's protected by thick armor, he quickly lands an attack towards its energy core. Noticing the intrusion, the golem immediately tries to swat him like a fly. However, our boy activates the sweep mana skill he received, driving his sword deeper into the golem's core. A huge explosion begins in the core and the golem lights up like a Christmas tree. Nearby, Kokon watches the whole thing and worriedly calls out to Shizu when she realizes he's about to be roasted. Noticing the explosion, our boy also realizes he's been had and he smiles, wondering if this is his end. A huge explosion rips through the top of the cave into the sky. From miles away, the commander monster that was chasing Shizu spots the bright explosion. 72 hours after the Shadow invasion, a helicopter appears on the scene of the explosion. They find the spot where Akina and Takudo were crushed. One of them realizes the cave has been taken and tells her comrade that she flew straight here when she saw the light. Her friend speculates that the enemy might have self-destructed after being cornered. The girl wonders if there's anyone else besides them who can corner those monsters, so the guy replies that the monsters might have just killed one another. Suddenly, they notice the commander monster walking towards them and turn towards it. The girl identifies it as an elite monster, so she brings out her comically huge hammer. It excites her that the monster looks strong because she has a feeling it'll entertain her. The guy prepares his arrow and apologizes to the monster that they have to turn on it even though he knows they're not his target. He explains that once the girl, Satsuki, gets hyped up, he can't stop her. He assures the monster it won't take long, so he fires his arrow. At the same time, Satsuki leaps towards him with her hammer and a maniacal grin. Moments later, Satsuki ends up crushed and injured. The monster holds his sword at the guy's throat, and the guy realizes this enemy is different from what he's encountered so far. Suddenly, the monster notices something and turns away, much to the guy's shock. Insulted by the monster's action, Satsuki demands to know why it's not delivering its finishing blow. However, the guy with her wonders if there's another big target the monster is focused on. Meanwhile, our boy wakes up and finds himself in a room filled with toys. When he comes to, he realizes he's in a girl's room. When he looks at his right hand, he notices it looks like iron and is much different from before. He wonders if the heat from the golem's core melted him and then his sentinel trait absorbed the shadow fragment and he was restructured without his human body. When he checks his skills, he confirms that he's received the skills of the golem, which shocks him. Eventually, he looks around and wonders why he's in this room. When he gets up, he perceives a nice smell of food and a singing voice that makes him want to cover his ears. It turns out to be Kokone, who's singing while frying an egg. When she notices him, she excitedly asks if he's awake. She assures him that breakfast will soon be ready, and our boy is impressed by how peaceful she is. However, he wishes she'd consider the dire situation they're in a bit more. When they sit down to eat, Kokone asks him how the food is. Our boy, who had just taken a bite, tells her it's delicious and explains he just doesn't have much of an appetite right now. Suddenly, Kokone laughs and explains he doesn't have to be polite because she also knows the food tastes bad. She informs him that she has cup noodles too and supplies enough to last a week. Eventually, she playfully admits that she's short on a lot of things and went shopping yesterday, but she dropped everything after meeting him. Confused, our boy asks her if she brought him all the way here by herself after he passed out. Kokone gladly admits that she found something like a golf cart and drove them down the mountain with it, then dragged him up the stairs. Our boy asks her if she didn't encounter any monsters, and she says she didn't and then asks why. Shizu realizes that something is off and he tells her that he can barely feel any fear or anxiety from her. He tells her it seems she's not worried about being killed, which catches her off guard. She eventually admits he's right and explains that for some reason the monster doesn't seem to attack her. She recounts how they ignored her after killing everyone around and even ignored her after she tried to attack them. Eventually, she concluded that she had some kind of superpower like his right hand. Intrigued, our boy asks her if she can see any strange panels like in a game, but she tells him she can't. Even though it sounds ridiculous, our boy explains that his abilities seem to be connected to a game called Azure Land. While he tries to explain that this disaster is correlated with that game, she interjects that she doesn't know much about games. She adds that her abilities seem more amazing than this, so Shizu glares at her. Our boy realizes that humanity is in a very dire situation, so Kokone asks him what he's going to do now. He informs her that they need to quickly leave Rinkai and go to a place called Kaijo. This is because his important comrades are in Kaijo, so he needs to confirm their safety. After hesitating for a while, Kokone tells him she's coming too. However, our guy reminds her that it might be safer for her to act alone with her unique skill, since she'll get caught in combat with others. But Kokone insists that she wouldn't know what to do alone and he doesn't seem like the type to die easily. Shortly after, they hear a sound from the door that sounds like someone is trying to pick the lock. Before Kokone can react, Shizu tells her to go hide and leave it to him. After she hides, our boy quickly clears the table and covers up his arm, hoping it's a false alarm. While they're still picking the lock, our boy opens the door and warmly asks the three people outside who they are. The guy picking the lock apologizes that he didn't know people were around. However, our boy, who had wrapped his hand to look injured, tells him not to worry since survival is the important thing in such situations. Regardless, our boy keeps his eyes on the guy's weapon. A blonde guy among them explains that they've been running away from monsters and made it this far. Since almost everyone in this city is dead, he admits he can't believe they meet survivors. Because it's unsafe outside, our boy has no choice but to let them in. When they enter, he asks them to sit down while he goes to get drinks. The lady amidst them asks for the restroom, so Shizu points her to it. Meanwhile, Kokone listens intensely. Soon after, our boy offers the guys some drinks. When the blonde guy asks about our guy's right hand, he tells them that he fell and injured it last month and it has nothing to do with the current world situation. The other guy mentions that it must be hard living alone and points out that he seems to have plenty of supplies. Shizu quickly tells them he was stocking up online and he never thought it would come in handy this way. He explains he can't believe the world became like this in just one day, so he asks the guy what they're planning to do now. The guy replies that he's thinking of hiding out for a while in a safe place with supplies, and this place would be ideal. Shizu realizes where he's going but points out that 4 people in this room would get cramped. The other guy excitedly agrees and states that it should be fine with 3 people. He immediately leaps towards Shizu with a crowbar in hand, so our boy exposes his right hand and snaps the crowbar in half. The guy frantically calls out to his blonde friend named Natsu, pulls out a gun. As the guy fires it, our guy dodges and jumps out of his chair before he kicks the gun out of his hand. Annoying, the first guy calls our boy a bastard and attempts to attack him again, but Shizu extends his hand and smacks him out of the way without looking. The blonde guy, who's now on the ground, calls Shizu a monster, and he asks our boy if he intentionally took a human form to trick them. Our boy admits that he did just that and walks towards him to crush his gun before he can pick it up. Shizu is amused that he now considers him a monster and not a defenseless civilian. As Shizu is about to take him out, he hears a voice from behind tell him to stop attacking. It turns out that the other lady had taken Kokon captive and has a knife to her throat. The girl tells Shizu he can't trick her because she knew immediately by looking at the room that it wasn't a man living alone. Kokon apologizes for getting caught, but our guy tells her he's the one who should be apologizing because it was all so sudden. He couldn't plan and had assumed she was absolutely safe because monsters didn't target her. Because of that, he overlooked the most terrifying existence in this world where order has collapsed: humans. The lady taking Kokon hostage wonders what the heck is wrong with our guy's hand. Our boy immediately tells her this is a hostage exchange, and he'll let her have her companions back if she hands Kokon over. While saying this, Shizu realizes that they probably don't know that his right hand is a long-range weapon. However, the girl refuses and asks our boy to hand over 3 more boxes of supplies. Suddenly, a sword pierces through the lady's chest, covering her up with blood. Our guy immediately drags Kokon away, while the lady groans in pain as she meets her demise. Shizu realizes that the sword is familiar, and the monster he first encountered in the game soon appears after slashing the lady in half, but this time it's a level 41 noble. In Azure Land, when a player is killed by a monster, boss, or another player and they drop items, they enter a hate-stuck state. If they can achieve revenge, they can retrieve their lost items. Our boy immediately tells Kokon to run ahead. Meanwhile, the monster drops his foot on the blonde guy's head and crushes it like a watermelon. Our guy is his real target, so he launches towards him, but Shizu quickly creates a defense shield. The impact pushes him through the window glass, but the monster follows hard after him. In midair, our guy uses rapid mana and blasts shots at the monster. He eventually manages to slide down a nearby object, while the monster jumps out of the way to avoid the blasts. Our guy tries to run into the building and holds onto his left arm, which seems to have been injured from the impact. This is the first time he's taken a direct hit, but he never thought the monster would be this powerful. When he gets to the staircase, he fuses his energy melting and blessing of holy light to create a superior structure for his body. However, in terms of physical strength, he's nowhere near a late-level monster. While the monster climbs the stairs, our boy leaps out with his sweet mana cannon and blasts it with shots. Regardless, the monster looks unfazed and continues to make its way in. Our boy tries his technical shot skill, but the monster swats it away like a bug. The distraction gives our guy enough time to leap out with his sword arm to land a powerful attack. However, the attack doesn't affect the monster, and our boy is forced to run away to plan something else. With the monster on his heels, he blasts it with his cannon shots, but it seems like he's firing it with seed pellets. Just like in the game, the enemy information displayed on the map is 2D and doesn't account for the z-axis. Rather than escaping far away, the best strategy he can use is in a narrow place with height difference and limited visibility. As the monster continues up the stairs, it steps on some leaking oil that Shizu opened. Meanwhile, our boy realizes that tactics alone aren't enough. If he doesn't kill this guy here, he'll come after him. Our boy leaps out and directs a fireball at the oil, igniting it and causing a strong explosion across 3 floors in the building. Fire engulfs the lower part of the stairs, but much to our guy's surprise, a monster steps out of the flames completely unscathed. It's clear the monster protected itself using a healer-type job called Saint Breath, so our boy realizes that some other shadows are here too. He quickly fires shots at the monster and runs upstairs, but the monster patiently walks after him. Our boy soon realizes these guys are on a completely different level than the ones he fought in the cave. He was only able to survive the attack on the train because he knew the terrain, and it's clear these guys won't give him a second chance. As the rain continues, lightning suddenly appears. When our guy notices it, he immediately realizes something and decides to try something new. Meanwhile, Kokon makes her way towards the building to look for Shizu. She heard an incredible noise from the building, and it made her wonder if Shizu was okay. Nearby, she notices a monster of the healer class casting some spells over the place. She wonders if this one is an ally of the guy from before and realizes this situation is worse than the last. She wonders if there's anything she can do to help and eventually spots the cart she drove down the mountain. She immediately gets in and decides to knock down the monster since it won't target her. Meanwhile, our guy reaches the roof of the building. When the monster steps in to join him, our boy admits that he's been cornered with a coy smile. The monster wastes no time and jumps towards him, but our guy is hellbent on taking him on. As the monster collides with him, Shizu tries to match up with his force since they're both using the same weapon. Meanwhile, the monster's team member, an archer, aims at our guy. Before he can fire, Satsuki appears with her hammer and asks the archer who he's aiming at. She immediately smashes him into the ground, knocking his bow out of his hands. When she lands, she tells him to put his initial target aside for now and have a go with her because she's really pissed off. As she rushes to smash him into the ground again, the archer leaps out of the way. It soon jumps off the building and releases a grapple hook to swing to another building. Annoying Satsuki looks at him and expresses her disgust at his lack of a fighting spirit even though he's an elite. She looks over at Shizu, who's battling the noble, and expresses her envy at the fact that he gets to rampage like that. As she looks closely, she wonders who he is. Meanwhile, our boy tries to avoid the monster's attacks and eventually sustains a cut to his cheeks from one of the monster's slashes. He manages to grab the monster's hand and he goes in for a frontal attack with his right hand. After landing an attack, he quickly steps back, but he realizes the guy is unaffected because he's protected by Saint Breath from the healer. If our guy doesn't sever the link, this noble will just keep getting healed and our boy will eventually get worn out. Before he can respond, the monster leaps towards him once more. Shizu realizes he can have a chance to win if he can stop the healer, but he doesn't know how. As the monster jumps towards him to slice him in half, our guy suddenly notices the link has been broken, so he wonders if the healer was taken down. When he looks down, he notices a car that just rammed into the healer, and he wonders if it could be Kokone. Meanwhile, Kokone rejoices that her plan worked and is glad when the healer doesn't attack her. In that case, she decides to hit him once more, but before she can step on the gas, an arrow pierces into the healer's chest. Kokone looks back to see who did that, and it turns out to be Satsuki's companion. The guy looks intrigued by Kokone, and it impresses him that a civilian fought back. Even though meddling with things outside his mission isn't his style, the guy is excited to find a support-type elite monster that can't coordinate with its allies. Meanwhile, Shizu quickly jumps out of the way before he's killed. The monster comes at him again, and our guy realizes he's using the Leon slash again. Our boy quickly jumps out of the way once more. However, the monster spots him and kicks back into our boy's back, knocking out blood from his mouth. Luckily, the kick doesn't knock him down, and he manages to stabilize himself. Our boy's eyes widen when he realizes he almost got kicked off the roof. He knows these monsters are essentially players from Azure Land. Their stats are increased, but their skill also improves as they fight more battles. This means that the longer this war drags on, the more disadvantageous it becomes for them. However, in this particular battle, our guy decides that stalling for time is his only chance of victory. While he's crouched, the monster comes in for another attack, and our guy reveals why he was stalling for time. Out of nowhere, a huge blast of lightning hits the roof and hits the monster. Immediately, the noble monster's stats reach near death and it becomes paralyzed. Its sword falls out of its hand and it falls to the ground. Our boy looks down at it and tells the monster that it's too bad that it didn't understand again this time. He tells the monster that it lost to the rules of this world this time. Since lightning is drawn to metals in high places, he points to a lightning rod placed nearby. Our guy leaps towards the monster to avoid the step voltage generated when a lightning rod diverts a strike and admits his plan wasn't exactly wise. If Lady Luck hadn't smiled upon him, he knows he would have been the one struck by lightning. However, he took the gamble. Eventually, he stabs the monster from the back and destroys it. But our guy is surprised that the monster's body isn't disappearing. Meanwhile, Satsuki keeps pounding on a wall. She reminds the archer, who is hiding somewhere, that they came to kill humans, so there's no need to keep running away. When she breaks the wall open, she's shocked by what she meets. An arrow meets with her and barely misses her head because she manages to quickly bend backwards. Excited, Satsuki tells the archer that this is more like it. When the archer runs again, her companion suddenly signals her not to chase them too far. She asks him why she shouldn't, so he tells her that the healer he's attacking has suddenly retreated, which means they must have received some kind of order. However, Satsuki angrily asks him how that matters and informs him she's about to explode. To calm her down, he also informs her that they've also received an order from the boss to assemble. He tells her he hasn't grasped the situation over there either, but the boss's orders are absolute. Meanwhile, Kokone listens to Satsuki's partner. She recalls that Shizu told her about folks who can fight these monsters using Sinal, but she realizes they're different from Shizu. Satsuki's companion tells her to meet him at point B1. Kokon realizes that this guy must have other allies from the way he's speaking. She soon turns her attention from him to figure out if Shizu is fine. From a building top, a strange bird watches everything that's going on. 102 hours have passed since the Shadow invasion. HQ receives a distress signal and forwards the coordinates to Team Cat 5. HQ assigns them to the rescue squad and orders them to change course immediately to carry out the mission. Cat 5 informs HQ that they are low on medical equipment and have limited capacity. They explain that recovering a large number of injured people is not possible and request backup from other units. HQ responds with details. The targets are 1 male and 1 female. Cat 5 is ordered to proceed with the mission. They reach the destination and confirm whether the distress signal was sent by Unit 183. Kokon says this is the rescue location and steps into the helicopter. The pilot turns around and asks who the hell she is. He mentions that he heard the targets were a male and a female, so he assumes something else. Shizu responds, asking if he thought it was Takudo and Akina. The pilot asks curiously if they know them. Shizu tells him that they accepted a refugee rescue mission and have been fighting alongside them. The pilot says they received radio signals from them too, but there hasn't been any update since yesterday. The pilot tells them they'll be dropped off at the nearest shelter, as the team has another urgent mission. Shizu asks where they are headed, and the pilot tells him they are going to Kaijo City, which is on the front lines of the war against the Shadows. Shizu notices that the pilot refers to them as Shadows and finds it strange since this is the same word he sees in his own system information. He begins to wonder if someone else out there can also see information on monsters. He then asks the other pilot if he can join them. The pilot looks at him and questions if he even knows how dangerous the place is. He explains that they are going in as reinforcements and that there's almost no chance of coming back alive. The pilot asks why he still wants to go. Shizu says he has important friends in Kaijo City and tells the pilot not to worry because he won't interfere with the mission and can protect himself. The pilot nods and says Shizu must be strong to have survived this long in a ruined city. Kokon looks at Shizu and asks if his friends really mean more than his own life. She then teases him and wonders if it's a girl. Shizu replies that one of them is a woman living in Kaijo City and the others were also heading there. Kokon feels a little jealous and wonders if she will ever have friends like that. Feeling sleepy, she leans on Shizu's shoulder and asks if he minds. They soon reach their destination. The pilot contacts HQ and reports that they've arrived at the designated point and that they are now under attack. Shizu takes a glance outside and sees a full-blown war. A helicopter attacks a dragon and confirms its elimination. But suddenly the same dragon strikes back at the helicopter and backup is requested. The pilots also witness other team signals going dark at the same time. Shizu has one more reason for going to Kaijo City which he hasn't told anyone. If this world really matches the game world, then the fortress from the game should be the one to attack first. He spots the rune tower on the battlefield and realizes this is most likely a C-zone. The weapons they prepared for modern warfare are useless against these monsters. The pilot says the fire control radar isn't working and Shizu tells him it's probably an effect of the barrier, and they have to aim manually. Shizu thinks information is the most crucial thing in modern warfare, but it's useless against an unknown enemy. Shizu says it seems like the enemy knows their tactics and countermeasures, judging by their deployment. While in the game, he got this by trying countless times. He asks Kokon if she knows how to whistle and suddenly pushes her out of the helicopter. Soon after, a dragon attacks her helicopter and Shizu stabs the dragon in its mouth. He tells the pilots to run quickly and uses the Brave flag, which increases ally speed by 20%, defense, and max HP by 5%. With that, many dragons are taken down. Then Shizu activates a powerful attack. Though he can't turn the situation around, he needs to get to the ground. As he thinks that, many dragons start approaching and circling around him. Kokon comes riding another dragon and saves Shizu just in time. She says he surprised her by pushing her out without saying a word, but she understood why when she whistled. The dragon they ride soon starts misbehaving while listening to Kokon a while before. It is because the dragon doesn't consider Shizu an ally. In the game, that dragon is a Griffon, known for its bonds of wisdom, so it saves players from falling from the sky. Back to reality, the dragon crashes into a building to get rid of Shizu. Before Shizu kills it, Kokon stops him. She tries to calm the dragon, saying Shizu saved her just like it saved her, so be a good child, and surprisingly it works. Shizu never met a player like her who communicates with a monster this way. In the game, enemies are just numbers that drop experience points and materials, so why does someone try to interact with them? It's something only a girl like Kokon could do, and Shizu thinks she's even more unique than him. The dragon drops them in a lake. They finally reach Kaijo City, even after everything that happened. Kokon asks what he plans to do next. Shizu replies that he didn't expect the situation to get this bad. The shadows advance fast, even Keijo's city is already occupied. She asks where his friends are, as they might not be here now. She shows concern about going because it's dangerous, but he says that's exactly why he must go. Shizu tells her he can't ignore it when his friends are in danger. She calls him stubborn, and he thinks of a plan. Shizu asks if she isn't going to say she'll go instead. His plan works and Kokon calls it logical. If she finds his friends, she's still safer because the shadows don't attack her. Though he says she can't rely on her trait because they don't know if it will work forever. Kokon asks him to describe his friends and if he has a photo. He says their last offline meet was 2 years ago and shows her a photo. He tells her the girl in the photo is Hiei Hitomi, and he doesn't know what her life is like in real life. He adds she's not the kind of girl Kokon might think she is. She tells him not to worry and assures him she will find her. She writes down the meeting place, and he warns her not to overestimate her trait. She tells him to step aside, and with a whistle, she flies off on the dragon to find Shizu's friends. Shizu didn't want to leave it all to her, but he let her go because from here he couldn't involve her in his plan. The next morning, the enemies arrive with their main force of cavalry and archers. The commander orders his soldiers not to fight openly, but to lure them into the park. A soldier is about to shoot at a monster, but the monster attacks from behind. Shizu jumps in, kicking the one behind away and shooting the one in front. The soldier asks Shizu which unit he belongs to. Shizu asks where the nearest command post is, and the soldier confirms and gives him directions. Shizu already suspects that Keijo City in the real world is like the key point in the game, the Nest Core. He assumes that if he goes there, he might find the core forces of humanity. Moving in that direction, he hides his hand because he doesn't know how humans will react to him. He knows this area is still under human control, so the subway should be working. Soon, a laser scans him, and as it falls on his hand, an alarm starts blaring. Machine guns open fire on him, but he quickly destroys the guns with rapid mana. A group of soldiers appears, locking their aim on him and calling him an intruder. Shizu tells them he is human. The soldier questions why the exclusive shadow alarm identified him as a shadow, pointing at Shizu's hand. Shizu is shocked by the thought shadows were just mysterious life forms and that the shadow alarm was new, since shadows only appeared a few days ago. He says it's a long story, but insists he's definitely human. Suddenly, the shadows' cavalry arrives and Shizu escapes while the soldier starts firing at the shadows. Shizu thinks the place won't hold for long while the subway is running. He jumps onto the metro and holds on tightly. All units go on alert as they receive a signal from Shizu, who is rushing to the command posts. Soldiers appear again and open fire, but Shizu manages to create a shield. He realizes this power even surpasses the Shadow's abilities. He knows that if he can't get out of this situation, he won't be able to talk things out. It's clear to him that it's very difficult to escape without hurting anyone. Then a man appears and announces a ceasefire. He tells the soldiers that a malfunction in the alarm system has been confirmed after investigation. He declares he is not a shadow but an ally. Shizu sees the man and realizes it is himself. It has been 14 hours since the shadow invasion at Keijo Station's frontline provisional HQ. That man calls him Shizuya Kamahata and asks if he would have killed the soldiers if he hadn't appeared. Shizu replies that he came for cooperation. He's thinking he's seen this man somewhere before. The man asks again, but this time he questions if Shizu really wanted to kill them all. Shizu understands they are at war, so even if they treat people well, they won't go easy on them. An old man suddenly breaks into the conversation and asks the CEO, William Seam, if something has happened again. Seeing Shizu, that man asks if he's a fellow otaku, and William replies, not really. William tells him it's the first time he is meeting Shizu, and it's only been a few hours since he arrived at Keijo. He adds that he wasn't able to catch Shizu's signal, but he managed to come here by himself. The old man asks if he is an oath keeper, and William responds frankly that people have gotten used to game-like names. The old man informs William that there is a meeting in an hour, and that a representative of the Seam group needs to attend, requesting him to get ready. William asks how many can attend, and the old man replies at most 2. William takes Shizu to the guest room and offers him a bath and fresh clothes. He questions Shizu if he isn't thinking of meeting the top military officials in those clothes. Shizu tells him to hold on, and William understands Shizu wants to exchange information first, which he is interested in too. William tells him that the Seam Group ranks 5th globally among international organizations and was founded 200 years ago. Seam Group's business spans electronics, finance, science, machines, and other fields. At the same time, Shizu thinks Seam Group created the VR MMORPG Azure Land. Shizu asks William how much he knows about the Seam Group. William replies less than he thinks. He also adds that shadows appear out of nowhere and the world's networks are in chaos. Hence, they don't know what's happening in their subsidiaries. Shizu questions him, calling them shadows, and William says it's what his subordinates call them. Shizu asks William if he thought he was one of the shadows and came after him. William says he thought that, but it's not a problem, as he has the authority to run background checks and can register him. Shizu points out there's already a system in place that detects shadows, even though it has only been a week since shadows appeared. William says Shizu should know they do beta testing before releasing the game. He adds it's similar. While it has been 5 days since shadows broke in, the overwrite was already running for 2 weeks. William shows him a screen revealing that the test was conducted secretly in a void space. Once they understood the seriousness of the situation, the information was shared with international organizations on a large scale. Shizu says the game wasn't open to the general public, and William says revealing it would only create more confusion. Shizu thinks the enemies were even named by the Scene Group CEO, William. He understands that people with influence and power might have noticed the link between Azure Land and Shadows. Though the military's attitude tells them they don't fully trust Seam and the situation is more complicated than William is letting on. Shizu points out that things are even more confusing now because there was no advance announcement. William replies that he knows it isn't trying to make excuses. He says they understand their enemy and know some of their traits, but they still have no idea when or how the next attack will come. Shizu then asks if this is what the old man meant by the Oath Keeper. William explains that it's more like a temporary task force created to study shadows. He adds that the force is still in its early stages, and while they aren't as skilled as Shizu, they are getting there. William says he told him everything, so shouldn't he tell the truth? Threatening that otherwise he won't be able to explain his hand to the military. Shizu says he doesn't know any details, he was just fighting to survive, but he knows it has something to do with Azure Island. He tells William that his hand changed when he touched the Shadow's Sinnoh. William asks if he means Sinnoh, the energy running in the Shadow's armor circuit. He likes the name and says to call it Sinnoh from now on. Touching Shizu's hand, he says he knows it's different from their technology. It's something from the Shadows that brought new powers. He questions how they could even make it. Before he can finish his sentence, the alarm beeps and reminds them it's time to meet the old folks. William tells him that they will talk more later. Shizu remembers that William Seam is the one who inherited conglomerate blood from the East and the West. He's a prodigy who rose to power and seized control of the Seam Group with unmatched skill. Shizu knows it can't be possible that William doesn't know about Azure developers and that he can't leave his guard down for a second. The meeting begins. Shadows have invaded multiple locations around the world. However, Keijo has always been their main target. The other attacks are just distractions meant to split up the defending forces and make it easier to strike Keijo once its defenses are weak. The military is using the open terrain to its advantage. They set up a sniping force along the Takana River and are currently holding off the Shadows on its eastern side. Good news arrives, enemy forces have pulled back from the front lines and are now stationed in Toyland. That means their invasion attempt on Keijo has failed. While the military continues to strengthen defenses, the eastern troops remain on alert, monitoring every movement of the Shadows. During the meeting, William asks if they can revive but continues without waiting for an answer. He says they can't, but Shadows can. He goes on to explain that after analyzing a captured Shadow, they discovered it's made of 2 key components. First comes the outer shell, which is a tough layer that can't be broken by normal attacks. But even breaking the shell doesn't mean the Shadow is dead because its true energy lies within. That energy is a substance called Sinnoh, which absorbs natural elements and repairs the damaged shell. So even if the exterior is destroyed, as long as Sinnoh remains inside, the core can regenerate. A woman addresses William after reviewing the research he submitted. But the focus of this meeting is to build a strategy to counter the Shadows. Shizu steps in to clarify that what William meant is they can't treat Shadows the same way they treat humans. The usual strategies used against human enemies won't work here. Even if they drop 1,000 soldiers on a single Shadow, they'll just get devoured and lose. William also adds that their soldiers need to be faster. If they drag the battle out, they're at a disadvantage. Shizu listens closely and starts wondering if William is pushing the military to act because he knows something. He recalls how the Shadows attacked Gloon Tower in the game, where the key to winning wasn't about wiping out the smaller enemies, but about killing the dungeon boss. That was the true condition for victory. He remembers the time he and his guild defeated the boss Ember back in the game. Looking at the map, he begins analyzing where the Shadows might strike next. William says the only option now is to destroy the Shadow respawn points one by one and force them off the planet. Shizu places his finger on a building marked on the map and asks what's located there. The woman replies that it is the Ritson Corporation HQ. Shizu is surprised and starts to wonder if it's just a coincidence because in the game world of Azure Land, Gloon Tower stood in the exact same spot, which would mean the president of Ritson is actually the Gloon Tower boss, the demon god of thunder. Unable to hold back, Shizu quickly asks about Ritsun's defenses and whether there's been any unusual shadow activity around the building. William pulls him aside and tells him to shut up for a second, clearly annoyed. The old officer steps in to ease the tension. He calmly says that they understand and that taking the initiative is important. He adds that the general staff will seriously consider what was said. With that, the meeting comes to an end and the officers start leaving the room. Later, Shizu confronts William. He wants to know why William didn't bring up any defense strategies. Attacking makes sense, but there was no mention of how to defend. William explains that while he agreed, there's officially no connection between the game and the real world. Even if they brought it up, no one would believe it. He goes on to say that most players, nearly 99%, don't understand what's actually going on and not everything needs to be shared. Shizu then raises a critical question. If the military is focusing all their forces on Kaijo, then who's going to protect Ritsu in case it gets attacked? William responds by asking who said the buildup was only for Kaijo. Just then, a squad steps off a helicopter and touches down on the ground. Looking through the window, Shizu watches the team arrive and asks William if they are his subordinates. William confirms that they are indeed the members of the Oath Keepers he previously mentioned to Shizu. These subordinates are William's trump cards for protecting Ritsun. Shizu is skeptical if these few people would be enough to protect Ritsun. William tells Shizu not to underestimate his subordinates and assures him that they are as strong as Shizu based on William's research. Shizu wonders if these people also have the power of Sentinel as well. William calls Shizu to introduce him to the team. William frankly mentions that Shizu's powers are better and more interesting than others. Later, William introduces Shizu to his subordinates. Shizu notices that the people have the same equipment to the game. The group greets Shizu, who is thinking that the group seems like the heroes of the game got together. William asks the team about the progress report of the mission. The team captain responds that the goal was achieved, however, there was some more trouble on the way. When asked by William, the captain revealed that the vice captain, Hashida, got captured by the enemy. However, no one died as there were low-rank enemies. Hashida calls out the captain for complaining about him to their boss. The captain responds that he is just stating the facts and William will be the one to make a decision. William gets annoyed by this argument and shuts everyone up. William starts walking away and orders the group to rest. William reminds Hashida that there are many substitutes for him. The team disbands to meet an hour later. Hashida is enraged at the squad leader, who himself finds it tough to lead the squad. Shizu gets a weird vibe from one of the Oath Keepers as he walks by Shizu. The captain calls out to Shizu asking why he is here. Shizu recognizes the captain's voice to be familiar. It is revealed that the captain is Meiji, an old acquaintance of Shizu. Shizu is glad to see Meiji after a long time and Meiji who asks why Shizu is in a place like this. Shizu explains that a lot has happened and he was brought before the Otaku boss. Meiji wonders if Shizu is favored by William. Shizu knows Meiji's concerns are right and even he feels something is not right. Meiji questions why Shizu is with these people and Shizu suggests going somewhere before telling the story, so they head to the sports bar. At the bar, Meiji tells his story how he almost died in Kaiju from a shadow, but William helped Meiji become an Azure land player. Shizu does not find it to be a good life for Meiji, who confirms Shizu's thoughts. Meiji gulps down his beer and feels refreshed. Meiji continues the story by telling Shizu that Hashida was initially supposed to be the captain of the squad, but due to Hashida's intimidating nature, Meiji had to make the sacrifice, so he was noticed and made captain. Shizu is interested to know if Meiji awakened his supernatural powers yet. Meiji reveals that his powers have not awakened. William transplanted a shadow circuit in Meiji's body, but it has limitations and the MP is not large as it was in the game. Even the number of skills Meiji can use is limited and he cannot recover his MP normally, so he has to go back to Seam to do it. Meiji then asks Shizu if William had called him to come. Hashida interrupts their conversation, stating that the bar is for the squad and not outsiders like Shizu. Meiji assures Hashida that Shizu is indeed William's guest. Hashida gets hot-headed and wants to beat up Shizu. Hashida calls Shizu a brat, believing that Shizu is after his position as vice captain. Meiji intervenes and questions if Hashida intends to go against William, as it was William's idea to call Shizu. At that moment, William enters the bar and asks one of the squad members if Hashida and Meiji have started to fight again. The squad member points William to their direction. William takes a look to find that Hashida and Meiji are indeed in a fight. Meiji grabs Hashida by the collar while Hashida mocks him, calling Meiji an idiot and that he is stronger than Meiji. Hashida breaks free from Meiji and starts to prepare his divine power attack. Shizu and Meiji get into position to counterattack. However, everyone is stopped by William. William reminds Hashida to read the room before using his Signal abilities in public. If Hashida uses Signal on a military base, he will be put on trial by the military. After William's warning, Hashida exclaims that Shizu was trying to sneak into their bar, calling him a brat. Hashida even emphasized that even Meiji was protecting Shizu. Hashida questioned if Shizu was a spy, only to be silenced by William, who reveals that Shizu is his friend and Hashida should never call Shizu a spy again. William warns Hoshida to step back, and Hashida is intimidated by William's presence. William turns to Shizu, apologizing for not sufficiently training Hoshida and asking if Shizu is hurt. Hashida is seen to be crawling out of the bar like a small cockroach. Meiji gives a sigh of relief that William arrived in time before Shizu took any countermeasures against Hoshida. Shizu finds it strange because he does not understand why Hashida is hostile towards him, though they have never met before. Meiji assures Shizu that Hashida is threatened by Shizu's presence because Hashida believes that Shizu might take his place as vice captain. Meiji complains to William that he cannot let Hashida hold them back in the next mission at any cost. With a smile on his face, William assures Meiji that Hashida is still young and being hot-blooded is not exactly a bad thing, which can be overcome by further training, and William is an important ally who will be useful when it counts. Shizu is at ease by William's words. William asks Shizu to prepare for the next mission as well as his strength will be needed there. Meiji is excited and feels much more confident learning that Shizu will be joining the mission. Shizu inquires about the mission, and Meiji reveals that their goal is to protect a certain executive of Ritsun from the Guru Tower across Ritsun. Meiji further reveals that this attack will help them suppress most of the shadows, but there is a risk of an elite monster launching a surprise attack. Meiji added that it was similar to the time he and Shizu worked together to conquer the Galoon Tower in the past. This mission was so crucial that even William will be joining them along. Meanwhile, at the army base, the general asks his assistant about the preparations. The assistant confirms that all the troops have assembled and ready to dispatch. The assistant then informs the general of William's activities and how he is gathering the oath takers for another mission. The general believes that William intends to let the army fight on the front lines while he schemes behind their backs. The general asks his assistant if she conveyed the orders, and his assistant confirms that the person in charge will use firepower only to defend and not to initiate the attack. The person in charge will also keep an eye on the scene group's activities. The general gives out the order to start the operation in 20 minutes and wants to see what William intends to do. William explains that the mission is outside humanity's defense perimeter, so there's a high probability for shadows to appear any time. Therefore, the squad will need to move through an underground tunnel to safely reach Ritsun without being noticed by the shadows. William gets the message about the safety of the subway and asks everyone to follow along. Hashida is enraged to see Shizu joining the mission. Nokia states that William must have his reasons to invite Shizu, and all they can do is just follow William's orders. Yuki adds that Shizu seems to be close to Meiji, so they should not take any rash actions against Shizu to protect themselves, otherwise Meiji would not heal them during the battle, so she does not want to get involved in Hashida's actions. Hashida would have beaten up Shizu to a pulp if Shizu did not have William's favor. One of William's subordinates requests William to educate Hashida on William's behalf. William refuses his request and orders him not to worry about it. Meiji can listen to all these conversations, and the color of his face changes. When Shizu inquires about it, Meiji brushes it off, making Shizu believe that he is once again out of the loop. The squad arrives at Ritsun, and William orders them that they will be fighting the shadows from here. William prepares the squad and warns them that the mission is not to defeat the enemies but to find the target. William then asks Shizu and Meiji to take positions at the rear support. The squad sets forth ahead for the mission. Shizu evaluates his level to be 40 without equipment by combining his weapon and current level, so Shizu believes his initial battles will not be a problem. Shizu intends to keep his sentinel a secret for now to avoid unnecessary trouble. Meiji notices the shadows appearing and alerts the squad to take positions. The shadows start surrounding them, so Meiji gives Nokia the order to stop Hashida and Shadow and orders Yuki, Kurusu, and other members to break the shadow encirclement. Nokia gets into action and becomes a killing machine against the shadow. Meiji smiles to see Nokia, explaining that Nokia is a good guy outside of combat but turns into a totally different person with his sword. Nokia gets a hold of the shadow. Meiji praises Nokia and orders Yuki to support him. Yuki charges and attacks the shadow from the back with her katanas, and they manage to successfully destroy the shadow. Shizu is impressed to see Meiji's command improve this much in such a short time. Meiji states that he only learned this by being with Shizu for a long time and calls himself a rookie compared to Shizu. Shizu tells Meiji to stay confident in the battlefield as the squad follows Meiji because they truly believe in him. Shizu reminds Meiji that it is his duty as the captain to live up to the squad's expectations. The regular shadows will be left for Meiji to face, but if an elite shadow like Noble appears, then half of the squad will be sacrificed. Miji alerts Yuki to watch her back and she dodges the Shadow's attack by a split second. The Shadow is about to attack Miji, but Kurusu comes in time, landing a severe blow to the Shadow. Meiji orders everyone to advance ahead and they set out. Shortly after, everyone notices a creature in the sky and Kurusu wonders what it is and Meiji shouts out that this creature is Noble's reinforcements. After warning the squad about Noble's reinforcements, Meiji orders everyone to retreat temporarily. The creature is emitting large flames and the squad intends to flee for now. Hashida, being his reckless self, decides to face Noble's reinforcement. He does not intend anyone to take the spotlight away from him, so he wants to take down the enemy by himself. He creates a huge fireball intending to slaughter the creature. Meiji believes that he is truly an idiot who wishes to die. Noble's reinforcement subdues his attack with ease. He is standing there in disbelief while the creature comes to attack him. Shizu charges towards him, saving him at the last moment. Meiji asks if he is okay, and he tells him to shut up. Meiji carries Hashida on his back and orders Shizu to retreat as well. Shizu tells everyone to retreat first as he wants to battle a noble, believing that a noble of this level is no match for Shizu. Shizu activates his Sinel and gives one powerful blow to the noble, destroying it completely. At the retreat side, Kurusu is watching from the window while the others are being healed by Meiji. Kurusu inquires about Hashida's condition and Meiji states that Hashida just had a slight sprain. All of a sudden, Kurusu alerts everyone of an enemy attack and gets hit by the enemy's attack. Meiji rushes to save Kurusu, nearly stopping the impact. The huge creature in front of them appears and Nokia believes it to be a guard sea golem. Meiji corrects Nokia and states that a guard sea golem should not attack on its own, and it is holding a tool rather than a weapon. Shizu agrees with Meiji that sea golems do not attack at their own will, rather, this is a special kind of noble, a disturber. A disturber has no attack power but can control large golems freely. It's revealed that to maintain the game system, large golems do not have aggressiveness and are only used for transport and construction. However, some players figured out that large golems can be used as armor by using T-Jewels and their equipment system, modifying the disturber's consciousness to be transferred into the large golem. Shizu never expected to see a rare T-Jewel in a place like this, but this was expected of an elite shadow. To summarize, there was an elite shadow party nearby in more than one squad. The golem starts to attack again and Meiji warns everyone to get down. Shizu steps up stating that this can be a disadvantage to the squad and buys some time while he makes the golem retreat. Shizu activates a shield in his defensive stance and Meiji gets everyone to retreat, believing Shizu's shield will not last longer. As soon as the squad retreats, Shizu finds an opening to go all out on the golem. Shizu charges towards the golem and brings the room down, escaping with his defensive stance. Meiji inquires if Shizu is okay, and the squad decides to escape before the Shadow Knight appears. However, it seems that the Shadows will not let the squad escape with ease, so they do not have any choice but to defeat the Shadows here. Shizu requests Meiji's support and William orders Hashida and Ruransu to support Shizu as well. Hashida still has a grudge for Shizu and decides to slightly harm Shizu with his support, so Hashida launches a blind attack towards the battle site, nearly hitting Shizu as well. Meiji tries to stop Hashida for being reckless, but Hashida cannot get a proper aim as Shizu is moving very fast. Meiji grabs Hashida by the collar and states that Shizu is their only hope for survival and questions if Hashida is trying to get everyone killed. Meiji gives a final warning to Hashida to drop his personal grudges for Shizu because Shizu is risking his life to protect the squad. Shizu faces the disturber and is taken aback with its size and destructive power. Meiji assists Shizu by casting haste on him. Shizu is grateful to Meiji and ascends to charge towards the disturber with a series of attacks. Shizu finally finds the perfect timing to attack the most fragile part of the disturber. Shizu knows from the game the most fragile part of the disturber is the cross on its face, but the true weak spot is underneath the armor of the head. Shizu attacks the cross on the disturber's face, making it fall down, and once the head armor shatters, Shizu attacks the disturber's true weak spot with his crossbow technical shot and finally defeats the disturber. Shizu finds defeating the disturber to be easier than the game, but later believes that he has now become stronger than he was in the game. Hashida and Ruransu are in utter shock to see Shizu take down the enemy all by himself, and Meiji praises Shizu's efforts. Shizu starts collecting the drop items from the enemy. Shizu activates his omniscience and omnipotence and unlocks the golem skill. Hashida wonders what Shizu is doing and Meiji asks Shizu to come down as it is dangerous. Shizu responds that he is just collecting the disturber's drop items and wonders if Meiji and the others cannot use this ability. Nokia is confused by Shizu's words and William orders Meiji to talk to Shizu. Later in the corridor, Shizu asks if Meiji and the others' abilities were awakened by a mere coincidence. Meiji starts telling Shizu the story that the Seam Group realized the connection between the Shadows and Azure Land after the Shadow invasion. So the Seam Group initiated the Prometheus plan to study the Shadows in more detail. The military cooperated with the Seam Group and they managed to capture live shadows, and by transplanting the shadow circuits, humans gained the same abilities as the shadows. However, the plan failed because the humans died within 24 hours of the transplant. The Seam Group later improved their methods by transplanting them into creatures with strong life forces like tortoises and peacocks. After a higher success rate, it transplanted into a Galapagos tortoise and then transplanted the stable circuits into humans. The Galapagos tortoise was then called the priest by humanity. Meiji further adds that circuits obtained through the Seam Group's method has its defects, different from the one Shizu possesses. Shizu cannot believe the Seam Group could achieve all this in such a short time. Meiji responds that he does not know anything about that, as he is lucky to be in a position to be ordered by the Seam Group in this world. Shizu then questions the capabilities of Shizu's circuit. Shizu states that he can just absorb dropped items and conceals the fact about omnipotence and omniscience. Meiji believes Shizu to be a special existence, and his ability is more like an accessory. Shizu explains that even though he can get stronger by fusion, the original owner of the items will track him for 7 days, just as it was in the game. Meiji thinks about the Hate Stone and asks if Shizu joined the Seam Group for this very reason. Shizu confirms Meiji's words that he will aid the Seam Group in missions while they provide him with a peaceful daily life. Meiji further adds that based on the Seam Group's judgment, the reason the shadows in the game are similar is somehow related to Ritsun Group's unauthorized use of game data. However, with the internet being down worldwide, William did not have any other choice but to go to Ritsun to find answers. Shizu goes into deep thought over Meiji's words and believes the reason for shadows targeting Ritsun is to bury the truth forever. Meiji suggests Shizu to head back. Shizu asks one final question: if Meiji believes the Seam Group can be trusted with his life. Meiji states that he is just an ordinary man, and it is every man's dream to work for the Seam Group. Kurusu finally wakes up and Hashido mocks him by calling him a scum, leading to an argument. Nokia shuts both of them up and calls them disgraceful on a mission. Even Ruransu agrees that Shizu saved their lives today. Meanwhile, William is on a call with a mysterious person, and with an evil smile, William tells the other person on the phone that everything is going smoothly and they will complete the offering before reaching the holder. William and Shizu are watching over the Ritsun Group building for threats. Shizu confirms that there are no signs of shadows, and he even used his clairvoyance on the other side of the window to perceive that there are people passing by occasionally. Shizu believes that the people have turned off the lights to not be detected. Shizu assures William that there is no danger nearby. The squad set off the Ritsun Group building, unaware they are being watched by the vice president of Ritsun Group. Inside the Ritsun Group, William finds that the interior has been remodeled into 2 paths. William orders Meiji, Hoshida, and Yuki to take the left path, while the others take the right path, and orders them to report to him after every 5 floors, as there are 40 floors in the Ritsun building. Meiji, Hoshida, and Yuki have searched till the 5th floor, and Meiji reports back to William, who orders them to continue the search. They reach till the 20th floor to still find everything deserted, and William orders them to continue moving up. Hoshida suggests Meiji to head straight to the top floor, as they have been searching for an hour and haven't found anything yet. Meiji agrees and tells Hoshida to report to William of his suggestion, as Meiji does not dare to lie to his boss. Hoshida is frightened and blames Meiji for threatening him with William's name again, knocking off the communicator from William's hand. Meiji notices that the device is malfunctioning and realizes that there is jamming equipment present, revealing that there was a trap set up for them. Meanwhile, on the other side, Shizu finds that something is off, as he had heard a sound from the next door. Kurusu and Ruransu do not believe to have heard anything. Shizu is pretty sure that he heard Meiji's voice, and William states that they're not far apart, so it's natural to hear him. Shizu notices a defect in the wall and measures the ceiling to be lower than the others, revealing that there is a hollow space. William orders Ruransu to contact Meiji quickly, only to find out that the communication system is jammed. William realizes the setup trap and orders everyone to retreat. Suddenly, sleeping gas starts filling up the room, knocking out the entire squad, and the vice president of the Ritsun Group tells her subordinates to take them away. Shizu wakes up to find that he is being interrogated by Ayakawa, the vice president of the Ritsun Group, who questions Shizu for the reason for their presence. Shizu mocks Ayakawa if this is what she thinks of hospitality. Ayakawa demands an explanation about Shizu's right hand and threatens him with her connections with the shadows. All of a sudden, the president of the Ritsun Group, Junoza, bursts in, ordering Ayakawa to release Shizu at once. Junoza states that the one Ayakawa captured was William from the Seam Group, their former sponsor, along with his subordinates. Ayakawa questions why William needed to target their small company when he should worry about protecting his own, implying that William came here for ill reasons. Jinoza shuts Ayakawa up and states that she does not need to interfere in what moves the scene group makes. Ayakawa leaves the room enraged, stating that Jinoza will regret it. Shizu realizes that the surprise attack was just the sole decision of the vice president, as the president Jinoza seems to be on their side. Jinoza orders everyone to leave the room to talk to William alone. Shizu finds the inside of Ritson building to be weird and thanks Jinoza's subordinate for untying him. Shizu then asks the subordinate if he can pull up the data of a player for him, as Shizu wants to find his friend. The subordinate agrees to do so, and Shizu mentions the name Heian Hitomi. Upon hearing that name, the subordinate refuses and runs off, leaving Shizu puzzled. Ayakawa questions why Shizu intends to look for Heian Hitomi. Shizu reveals that the reason he came to Keijo was to check the safety of his in-game friend. Ayakawa realizes Shizu's identity, that he came all this way to search for his friend. Shizu wonders how Ayakawa knows him, and she hands him a card key, telling him to go to the 37th floor and that he can ask his friend directly if he is curious about anything. Shizu goes to the 37th floor and wonders if the Ritson group is plotting something, so he decides to be careful. Upon reaching the floor, Shizu knocks on the door asking for Hitomi. To Shizu's surprise, Hitomi opens the door, but Shizu finds out that Hitomi is paralyzed from her legs. Hitomi is glad to see Shizu, as they have not contacted each other since their last offline meeting, and asks how Shizu has been doing. Hitomi invites Shizu in and asks if he will have his usual tea to drink. While pouring the tea, Hitomi asks Shizu if her father brought him here. Shizu asks if Kagarakawa is Hitomi's father, and she corrects him by revealing that she is Jinoza's daughter. It seemed like a topic Hitomi did not want to discuss. Hitomi reveals that she has come to terms with it, as it was a long time ago. Hitomi begins telling Shizu her story, that she used to be a mischievous child with a love for boxing. However, Hitomi's mother did not approve of Hitomi going into a brutal sport like boxing, and intended to make her daughter more girlish by getting her dolls and stuffed toys. On the other hand, Hitomi's father supported her hobbies because Hitomi's parents used to fight a lot. Jinoza secretly let Hitomi pursue her boxing career, but Hitomi ended up getting paralyzed from the waist down and could not ever stand again. Hitomi's parents fought more than ever and never reconciled, leading to Hitomi's mother committing suicide out of pressure. Hitomi had changed her surname out of guilt for her mother, and Jinoza did not disagree with her decisions. Hitomi states that fate is cruel. Hitomi states that she chose Azure Land Battler and got immersed in the game. Finding out about Hitomi's new interest, Jinoza bought Ritson immediately and acquired the game's operating rights, as the game was trending at that time. Jinoza brought Hitomi here a year ago, giving her the hope that her legs could be healed. However, Hitomi has been under house arrest since then and has not seen the outside world. Shizu was the first person to come visit Hitomi after that time. Shizu thinks about Hitomi's past and finds it similar to the episode of the Grum Tower. So all the defense facilities were set for Hitomi's safety, and Jinoza is the boss of Grum Tower, also known as the God of Thunder. Shizu wonders how a president with billions of net worth has such combat power. Shizu suddenly realizes that it was a year ago, so Jinoza had been preparing for the Shadow Invasion for over a year. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.